any Chet this morning, Jordan?
Oh, Hanks. Not even Holmgren.
Hanks lives like 2 floors above him.
Incredible.
I told him he's got to scream next time he's doing one of those videos so we can hear it. Like, hopefully he would upload it with Jordan just being like, shut the fuck up.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't exactly follow Tom Hanks' son.
He doesn't either, but he has no choice.
It's true.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show presented by Prize Picks. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman, breaking down a little 5-game NBA slate. Bit of a respite from these monster slates that we've had. Super Bowl's over. Good. 5 games today. Couple days until the All-Star break, so let's power through it, man. How you feeling?
I'm great. I cannot wait till the next 3 days are done so we can get a little bit of a forced break. I'm very happy for that to come around. Good riddance to the NFL. I don't need to see that for months. That makes me happy. It's really just a great time of the year, honestly.
It is a good time of year. You get a little bit of a break. And this is a nice break. What, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
We got, and for those of you guys that are looking to keep things going, I mean, we got NHL every day. We got all the NHL, like there's everything out there. PGA,
yeah.
You know, like the sharp move is to be proactive and get your PGA lineups in Thursday, which is the last day of basketball. So then you can sweat Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Plus showdown over the weekend. You get golf showdowns big. Tigers.
Do we have MMA on Friday?
Saturday, but yeah.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. So EPL over the weekend too. There's plenty of stuff out there.
There's a lot. Tell you how to get all that for free for the entire month. No better time to do it than right now, as a matter of fact. Especially people that are like, I don't need tools for basketball. You're gonna need it for this other stuff, though. We got you covered. We'll hit on that later. But anyway, happy to have you guys with us as always. We love doing this show. It's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast. We've had some good weather, man. Yesterday, it was 57, sunny, 53 and sunny today. Tomorrow in the Northeast, right? Right out in the Philadelphia suburbs, talking 65 degrees in mid-February. I know you're in North Carolina. You get that weather frequently, but around here, you grew up around here, you know, that's a little treat, you know?
Oh yeah. You're going outside. It's going to be fun.
We're going outside. I take the dog for like 2.5-3 miles every day. Even when it's brutal, I force myself to do it.
Pass.
You know what the nice thing is though? Once you get halfway through that, it feels great. Like once you warm up and the blood starts flowing, you feel awesome. And the cold feels good because you get halfway through a walk in the summer, you're miserable. This is different. Yeah. You have to get. I don't
walk during the summer. It's too hot down here.
I go in the morning. Go real early, like 8 o'clock in the morning. Not real early, you know, but like 8 a.m. before it gets. This dog can't handle. So you know, she can't.
I'm already at 90 degrees by 8 a.m. when it's July and August.
Are you really?
A lot of the time, yeah. Yeah, it's not great. There's a lot of like 100 days in the middle. Yeah, Peter in chat. Wilmington's going to be 68 today in sunshine. Yeah, it's awesome right now.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. Cold days are good. Cold days are good though. I'm beginning to embrace it after 35 years. Ross, how far am I from East Palestine, Ohio, or Palestine, Ohio? I'm far enough to hopefully I'm not affected by that madness. That's insane. I don't know if you follow any of that. Basically, they're like, we need to get the rail up and running again, and fuck all these people. So we're just going to burn the chemicals and put them into the air, and now look out for acid rain.
It's probably not in my best interest to provide any color commentary for this one.
Why is that?
I don't know. It hasn't gone well any other time I've tried to weigh in on events.
Yeah, that is true. You're callous. That's why.
No, I haven't been paying attention to it, if I'm being honest with you.
Pretty crazy though. Hopefully everyone anyone around that area. That's for real. That sucks. Like it's contaminating the water supply. It's killing the animals and the fish.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. We got Michigan State too, real bad.
Yeah. And they go, hey, let's just burn it. We got to start making some more money. No good, man. No good. They're not on the side of the people, Josh. I'll tell you that much.
I'm not, or we aren't.
Well, you're not either, but they aren't.
No, I'm definitely not.
They aren't. I am. I consider myself a man of the people.
I don't.
What?
I don't consider myself a man of the people.
Oh no, you are. You're an awful person, really.
Well, no, I'm not against the people. I am indifferent to the people.
Yeah, we shouldn't have you comment on this.
No, never. Absolutely never. It never goes well.
It
never
doesn't.
goes well. I don't want bad things to happen to people, but bad things are happening everywhere across the planet every day. I just can't keep up with it, you know? I got my own shit to worry about.
Yeah. But Ricky said, Josh can't stand for anything. This one is obvious, my friend. Right. Like this one is obvious. This is, you got to be with the people.
Yeah, I'm not like pro burning chemicals and ruining places. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. But like, I just don't pay attention to it because I could read a news story like this every single day for a different place of the planet. I don't need that sadness in my life. Life's sad enough.
That is true. The death toll in Turkey's insane.
Like I don't even know what you're talking about.
You didn't know about the earthquake in Turkey and Syria that looked like
yeah.
There were videos out there that looked like a modern disaster movie where people are driving in buildings.
So this is what a week ago, 10 days ago, something like this at this point,
something like that. But
yeah, it's already out of my brain.
I will say though, a happy start to a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we're really bringing it in, kicking it off in a great way. Josh justifies his apathy in strange ways. I'm not trying to justify anything. I just like there you go, like right away, like Turkey, Cleveland, or wherever it is, Michigan State today. There are probably another 50 things that we can name that just generally suck across this planet. It's a lot to take in, man.
The older I get, though, the more I don't want to say conform to your way of thinking because I still try and be cognizant of everything going on, right? But the less I let it affect me because we have zero control over anything.
And we have too much access to information now. We find out too many things.
Yeah. That's
like it's always been bad everywhere. We just didn't know.
Now we just hear about all of it.
Yeah. Right. You become desensitized to it.
That's why I wish I could scream at the top of my lungs to the people that spend their entire day fighting with other people that might be bots, that might literally be bots on Twitter about politicians and shit that they all hate us anyway, dude.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. They want this. You do this. You do this.
It's also a person that has never like succeeded at anything in their lives. They're not providing anything either. Yes. It's just the lowest common denominator of human yelling at fake humans.
Who gets essentially just gets pleasure in watching others fail because they have also failed. That's what it is. But hey, happy to have
I got the answers. It's like, man, you didn't even have the answers to an algebra test when you were 14.
Happy to have you guys with us. We got 5 games to get into. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And by the way, spare your comments in the comment section about, hey, Josh and Love, you don't know what they're talking about. Of course we don't. Of course we don't. Fortunately, we just have a platform to talk about stuff that we don't know what we're talking about, and we try and limit it. We're getting into basketball right now, but hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe. And of course, hit the thumbs up. And if you're listening to the fact, we'd love for you to comment. We will read and respond to all of them, even if they're not nice. That's okay. We're used to that. And if you're listening in podcast form, we see you out there. Subscribe, leave a rating or review. All that stuff helps us greatly. Tell your friends about the Stokastic YouTube channel, about the show. All that stuff goes a long way. Josh's Process Show, 6:30 a.m. for those of you early risers or people working late. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe working late. Driving home.
I get some international people that are watching it in different countries where it's not even remotely close to that 6:30 mark. Get people tuning in from Australia, ending their nights.
Sure. People on the West Coast that are working the overnight, right? Like 3:30 there, 6:30 driving back from all right. Well, anyway, let's do it. We got 5 games.
Let us do it.
Orlando, Toronto. We'll kick it off with this one. So the Magic 6.5 dogs. We do have a handful of back-to-backs on this slate. We'll get into them. I think there's 1, 2, 3. Well, there are 4 or 5 teams on a back-to-back today.
It's a bunch. It's a bunch.
Orlando being one of those teams, right? So
Yeah.
I looking at this one, the only news from an injury standpoint is the fact that Cole Anthony was a late scratch yesterday. Aside from that, it pretty much looks like it's par for the course on this team. And with only 5 games, we're going to have to get into some potentially lesser appealing value, like guys in Jalen Suggs coming off just a truly dreadful game yesterday, but he has been seeing, mid-20s in minutes. I think the best thing to do here is start with him and just talk about where value is going to derive from on a slate like this.
Yeah, I guess I understand why he's at 25% ownership. I don't agree with it. I think it's way too high. I ran a dummy crunch before this started. I have absolutely 0 Jalen Suggs. There's a ton of value in Boston right now. We have no Marcus Smart, no Jaylen Brown, no Jason Tatum, 2 more Q tags. We have all the value that we need, I think, in Orlando or in Boston. It's just not the same sort of pay down variety. So I get why Suggs is getting it, but we have to assume Cole Anthony is questionable. I mean, technically speaking, Cole Anthony is questionable for right now. Orlando put their injury report out already. He is questionable. So if Cole Anthony plays, you're hoping for, 24 minutes out of Jalen Suggs. You might even be projecting 24 minutes for Jalen Suggs, even if Cole Anthony is out. At 3,700, he's a 0.82, 0.85, something in that neighborhood, fantasy point per minute guy. I get it. There's not a lot of guys in that price range that exists like that. But if he's going to be in a quarter of the lineups today, I think you're going to be able to find more versions of him that just exist just flat out right out of the gate. I think Gary Harris is terrible. But if he's 2% owned and Suggs is 25, I think there are scenarios where Gary Harris can provide you 25 fantasy points and be better than Jalen Suggs. That's just one guy on the same team for right now. So I don't agree with it, but I get it.
Once you get past guys like Suggs, you have just a bunch of 10, 11 percenters popping up. Yep. None of them, exorbitantly priced. Fultz, Carter Jr., Mo Wagner getting a little bit of love there as your backup center. And then Banchero is at 7,200. I guess when you're looking at this team going up against Toronto, it's not exactly the greatest matchup in the world. It's not the worst, but there are some teams that we're going to get to later on in this show once we work through these that are far more appealing than the Orlando Magic. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no. So I think Orlando's appealing in that they're sort of all appealing. Okay. Just nobody's excessively appealing. I think the ownership looks about right here. 10% to Franz, 10% to Paolo, 10% to Fultz, 10% to Carter. I think Orlando is very interesting. I just think they're hard to separate. I do like Franz Wagner a little bit more than most. I tend to say that as well, but shooting guard, small forward, 5,800 on a 5-game slate, a guy that's like a 0.95 fantasy point per minute guy. He's going to play about 33 minutes. That's the spot that I'm looking at most because I just think that price works no matter what sort of build you're putting together for today. Only 9.5% ownership right now. I wouldn't he's the type of guy that I'd be happy to have 20% of if he's 10% owned today.
If you're talking about the other side of this game with Toronto, there's still a lot of question marks here because you look at last game, Toronto, Nick Nurse goes with just a jumbo lineup here, right? And it kind of makes sense because the Pistons had a bigger front court as well. But Jakob Poeltl started that one with Gary Trent out. Precious Achiuwa was questionable, ended up playing. You had Siakam, Precious Achiuwa, and Poeltl all in the same starting lineup. We don't know if Gary Trent's going to play today. But we have him projected in right now, and this is kind of where I'm going with this, with Jakob Poeltl still being the highest owned highest owned player for Toronto. How many minutes do you think Poeltl gets if, of course, OG Anunoby's out and Precious is questionable, but I assume he plays? How many minutes do you give to Poeltl if Gary Trent and Precious Achiuwa are in?
So I gave Poeltl 27. I also gave Achiuwa 27. Given the fact that they were able to start alongside of each other and play basically the whole game alongside each other, Poeltl fouled out, but they were on pace to play 20 plus minutes next to each other. So it doesn't seem like they care in that regard. I don't know. Do I think one of those guys ends up getting more minutes? Yeah, probably. I had a hard time trying to figure out how I wanted to allocate those minutes, but it seems like those guys are at the minimum going to split 48 minutes and then some. And at that point, I think Pirtle looks incredible at 5,400. This is a 1.15 fantasy point per minute guy normally. He's close to neutral in usage, generally speaking, or at least he had been in the past. Maybe you want to say that gets knocked down a little bit on Toronto, considering Toronto is quite different than San Antonio. But great, like a much better assist guy than I think most people would realize. A completely reasonable rebounder, probably the best on the team. There's a lot to like here, other than the fact that he can't shoot free throws. I see no reason to not get to Pirtle, especially at $200 cheaper than Achua. I do think it's also interesting to think that, and he's a much better per minute guy than Achua, but these guys are separated by $200 and 15-2 in ownership. Not that I really like Achua, but I could see the path going there, where if Pirtle gets into any foul trouble, Achua is the guy that would benefit. But I agree with our ownership. I'm actually even heavier on Pirtle than the public is right now. And I think that he could play upwards of 30 minutes today, so long as he stays out of foul trouble.
Okay. Well, then that makes things really interesting because he's not overpriced. He's a very quality per minute guy. What about once we get into like Siakam and Van Vliet, whose price points, God, they were so far apart not long ago, and now they're really similar in salary, just given how both of them had turned it up at different points, really. Do you have a preference here, just given positional scarcity or getting a slight discount on Van Vliet?
I think they both look very similar. They came out of my Sims on basically the same number, and I'm not really getting to them much in my build either direction. It feels like Pascal Siakam should be easier to get to just because he has the MPE, but I'm really not seeing much. I think Fred VanVleet for sure is at like the tippy top of where his salary can be. You really need the perfect outcome for Van Vliet. I think there's a little bit more meat left on the bone for Siakam, but I don't have much of a preference here. Scotty Barnes is the guy that I have my eye on most. He's going to play 37 minutes today. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. You get an MPE across the forward spots. He's just the kind of guy where like everything is sort of there for him. There's a reason he's 15% owned. That's the second biggest mark for Toronto. I agree with that. And I'm willing to take a shot on Gary Trent if he's in. You get that shooting guard small forward, so you can put him in 5 of the 8 roster spots. 6,100 is a little healthy, but I'm going to assume he goes straight back into the 36 minutes a game that he had been playing. So when it comes to Toronto, Van Vliet, Siakam, Barnes, Trent, Pirtle, I think you can go any direction, but Barnes, Trent, and Pirtle are the 3 that I like the most and the 3 that I'm getting to the most.
All right, well, now it's time to buckle down because Boston's got some real question marks today.
Sure do.
Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart remain out. All right, that's the simple part, right? Jason Tatum, non-COVID illness is doubtful. But then you also have Robert Williams and Grant Williams, who would benefit from Jason Tatum's absence in the event that he is in and Tatum is out. Also questionable for this game. Now, they're 9.5-point dogs on the road against Milwaukee, 226-point total. Listen, this is why we have the deeper dive and live before lock. There's no doubt about that. But already you're getting good value. Like, okay, let me ask you this. If Tatum and Grant Williams are both out, and say Grant Williams is out, say Tatum is out, who's doubtful, the value on this team, you're going to have 3-4 Boston players in every damn team on a 5-game slate.
Yeah, I mean, I already have Derek White, Grant Williams, who I guess we could talk about, and Malcolm Brogdon as my 3 most owned guys on the slate, all 60% or higher. Grant Williams sees a bit of we don't even know if he's going to play, but if he's playing, I think he has to play well north of 30 minutes. We see him get a giant usage bump when Brown and Tatum are off the floor. That's the big thing that we need to remember. We're removing 2 30% usage guys from this team. Basically, like all the shots that exist for Boston aren't going to be there for today. So someone like Malcolm Brogdon becomes a 30% plus usage guy at 5,700 point guard, shooting guard eligible. That's why he's 43% owned. I currently have 80. It's going to be close to a lock button for me today. Derek White's price is up to 7,100, which is some sticker shock when you see Derek White's name next to it. But he's got an MPE. He's playing 36 minutes a night over the past few weeks. 32% owned, second highest owned guy on Boston. I have 60. He's a completely different guy. We're talking a 26% usage rate, 28% assist rate with no Brown, no Tatum, no Smart around. Grant Williams, as I've already mentioned, a guy that I like quite a bit. I believe he was number 1 in my contenders. And that says nothing for getting to Al Horford, who has to do a little bit more. I'm assuming Sam Hauser starts and plays 30 minutes. He's 4,600 already and still looks good. Time Lord, if he's in at 6K, by all means, go for it. You could get really weird and go to Peyton Pritchard, Mike Muscala, the Unicornet, depending on how all of this breaks. Because if those Q tags start coming in, they don't have enough bodies. They are running super duper low on human beings that can play today. I don't think they want to go to too much of Kabengele. J.D. Davison doesn't ever play. Justin Jackson got shipped out at the deadline. Like, they are thin for tonight if any of those Q tags land. But if those Q tag guys are in, it's not like they're like really digging into the bottom of the bench. These guys are going to have to play big minutes because they don't have the right positional setup. It's a lot of big men.
It kind of feels too, I mean, it feels like right now, and that's a solid breakdown on your part, just given the information that we have. Brogdon and White are already good plays, regardless of how this shakes out. But if you have, and my guess is that Grant Williams does play. I think it's still uncertain. I think he had elbow swelling or something like that. Right
elbow injury.
Yeah, but the guy play like he's not someone that's frequently out. So
no.
I would assume that he plays. He's dirt cheap. Just like with Tatum being doubtful, because right now we have Tatum out. Are you a little bit surprised? Maybe you can break this down a little. You can crystallize this for me a bit. I thought with Tatum being out of the projections, right? Because he is doubtful. I thought Grant Williams would be more popular than he is.
It's the Q tag that's keeping him down.
That's got to be right, because if he's
he came out of my Sims 37% optimal. Like, he was the number one guy.
Okay. So yeah, it's just a hedge on the Q tag. That makes sense.
Yeah. He'll be more than seven. He absolutely should be more than 17% owned if you knew that he was playing.
How often do you think we see Horford and Robert Williams playing alongside each other in this game with Tatum expected?
A lot. I mean, they'll start alongside of each other. They'll play, probably 3 or 4 rotations alongside of each other.
Yeah.
If the game can be like one, it's Milwaukee. So you're trying to stop Giannis on the opposite side. That means you want Robert Williams, you want Al Horford. Technically, you want Grant Williams. I mean, if you're going to try to slow down Giannis, those are the 3 guys that you want that aren't named Jason Tatum. So that helps you big time in that regard. I don't know, 15, 20 minutes if the game is competitive. You're going to get a lot of it. Yeah. They don't have a choice. It's either that or they let Giannis abuse Mike Muscala and Luke Cornett or Blake.
Yeah, that gets real ugly real fast if that's the case.
Sure does.
So right now, Brogdon, White, Grant Williams, your top 3. That could change. I mean, Hauser's viable. He could become even better. Yeah, you're right. Like even Peyton Pritchard, if you wanted to get a little wild there. And who knows? Maybe there's foul trouble in this front court going up against Giannis. Mike Muscala is forced into additional minutes at almost minimum salary.
Yeah, I think he's like a really interesting flyer for today. Obviously, if Robert Williams doesn't play, Mike Muscala at 3,500 is going to become a big time play because you're going to have to give him like 22 minutes, 24 minutes, or Luke Cornett. Cornett's power forward center eligible, flat 3K. Both Muscala and Cornett become very real plays for today. I think you probably have to give Horford a bump at that point too, because he's just going to have to be out there. But if we end up losing Robert Williams for this game, we're going to create a lot more value. And that's why, like, if that happens, I like Muscala and Luke Cornett more than I like Jalen Suggs playing 24 minutes for the Magic.
Have to. Especially guys playing closer to the basket. You'll take that all day long.
Yeah. They're both like 0.95 guys.
Yeah. You have to be really, really, really bad at the center position to not average like decent per minute production.
Yeah. You get it, but you kind of get it by default.
You do. Like you don't actually have to be good to be a decent per minute guy because you're getting opportunities that other players aren't, like a wing player. Right. But let's talk about Milwaukee then. Giannis 24% right now on DraftKings at least. A lot of times on these abbreviated sites, it's hard to get the guys like that. Just given the Boston situation and a couple other spots we'll get to, I don't think it's going to be all that tough to. I think it's going to be all that tough to get to Giannis today, and we're seeing that show up in ownership and on the boom bust tool already.
Yeah, I mean, 12,700 is a giant price tag for a 5-game slate, but I don't think that we're going to fail to find the value to get there. I think it's just going to be pretty easy to find that amount of money, and you might just find more and more as the day goes on. Now, if you prefer, like, we're also seeing 38% ownership going to Damian Lillard at 11-1. Those are the only two guys that are 10K or higher today. So it's either you're like really loading up on that 9K range, or you're going to be able to get up to Giannis or Dame. Now, I think I prefer Dame today, and that's as someone that very rarely gets to Dame, but I think I prefer Dame just because I think it creates a better build. But that said, like, if you can get to Giannis on a 5-game slate, do so. 1.92 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days for Giannis.
So he's almost at 2.
0.08 shy of 2 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah.
He's just hanging numbers out there right now. And that's why you get up to 12-7 on DraftKings, 12K on FanDuel.
Yeah. The only risk you run in a spot like this, given how banged up Boston is, and I know they had some, gritty games with a bunch of players sidelined, but the only concern here is there a blowout? And Giannis's minutes are limited, which, as an almost double-digit spread, that's entirely possible. He still put up, 51 and 23 minutes, 58 and 30. But at 12-7, even on a small slate, you're still looking for him to get his full allotment of minutes here. That's a really expensive price point.
I will say I took the under points, rebounds, and assists on Giannis in my prize picks video today. It's 51.5. He can go 30, 10, and 10 and not hit that.
You took the under on PRA, you said?
Yeah.
What's it at?
51.5. 30, 10, and 10 doesn't get you there.
I always look at it that way too. Like, how insane does it have to be for him to get there? Yeah. He could go, 30, 15, and 5. And not
like he just might not have enough time to get to 51.5 if this is an ass beating. Like, he could have a really good game in 25 minutes because he can't get back out there and still have that 2 fantasy point per minute ceiling. But like, I don't know if he's going to be able to get the volume in this one. I actually really like Drew Holiday, 7,600. He's been at 1.15 fantasy points per minute as of late, which is like a normal rate for him, but he's only 14% owned. I think he's probably a little underrepresented for today's slate. And then we got to talk about Chris Middleton. Middleton didn't play on Friday. He had played 24.5 minutes the Thursday prior. So it was on a back-to-back. They'll have one more game before the deadline. I don't know if they're going to try to hold his minutes down until after the All-Star break, but if he could play 24.5 on Thursday, I see no reason why you're projecting him for anything less than 24 today. Like, they just want him to play those minutes. 2.5% owned, 5,400. I mean, at 5,400, you're looking for, I don't call it 35 fantasy points from Chris Middleton. I don't think it would be crazy for him to be a 1.4 guy for today. He's been at 1.4 FanDuel points per minute since he's been back. I think there's some upside if he's going to be fully unowned today. So don't be afraid to take some shots on Chris Middleton.
What's funny about Middleton is his minutes have been very abbreviated, but he's milking them for everything they're worth.
Sure is.
I mean, dude, he's playing remarkably well right now. And how many? I actually haven't looked at this. Is he are the bulk of his minutes coming with Giannis off?
I legitimately don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it's basically half. How long has he been back? Oh, like 2 or 3 weeks.
He came back on the 23rd.
Okay, so
but I would start it from like the last 5 games when his minutes got ramped up a bit. At least a little bit, where he's playing 20 plus every game.
All right, so
go ahead.
Since the 23rd, Chris Middleton has played 169 minutes just in total.
Mm-hmm.
In those 169 minutes, Drew has been out there for 115, Giannis 66. So Giannis has been out there for 40% of Middleton's minutes.
That is good for Middleton.
Yes.
Yeah. Really, really good for Middleton. And I had a feeling that would be the case, just seeing how insane the usage has been. Like, if you run it back his last 5 games where he's played 20 plus minutes in all of them, Giannis has a 44% usage rate over those games, but Middleton's still at 34%.
Yeah, he's not struggling to chuck it at all. 60% true shooting too. So like, it's going well. Like,
yeah, if
Chris Middleton can have 30% usage and 60% true shooting, he should take every shot he can.
Yeah. I mean, look, the margin of error here is like It's tough because if he has a poor shooting game in 24 or 25 minutes, you're just not getting there.
No. Yeah,
but the volume's good enough to where I think you're right, especially on an abbreviated slate. It's not like you're playing him as a hedge off of Giannis either, because it doesn't make any sense. But I think you could play both. If he's playing 60% of his minutes with Giannis off the floor, I wouldn't be worried about having both of them in the same lineup at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Do you have anything else you like from Milwaukee, or should we keep it moving here?
Not really. I mean, at this point, we kind of know that you can get a little bit of Brooke Lopez, Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton. I mean, if you want to take a shot on someone like Joe Ingles on a 5-gamer, I guess it's not something that I'm doing right now, but he's not a quick, you don't draw a line through him immediately.
We were talking earlier, I mentioned at the top of the show, looking at our tools, the boom bust tool, the lineup generator, the ownership projections, the player projections, all of that stuff, right? That type of stuff would cost you $120 a month if you wanted to get access to everything. With Prize Picks, however, Josh was just talking about it. We're going to break something down in a second here too. With Prize Picks, though, not only is it an awesome site to play, but not only do you get $100 first match deposit bonus when you sign up, but you're getting a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Everything that we've got on the site, not just for basketball. That's what I was saying. Like, hey, All-Star break's coming up. Free month. Yeah, free month when you sign up over at Prize Picks. Get your deposit bonus, which you're already covering that, and then you're getting a $120 month at Stokastic Plus Platinum. All of our tools, including our premium Discord, including the awesome lineup generator, all of that stuff, entirely free for the calendar month, $120 value. And I'm just thinking, like, you got the PGA tools, you got the MMA tools, you got, like you said, soccer projections, hockey, all of that stuff to carry you through that lull in the action when you've got no Friday through Wednesday basketball. Man, it's a straight no-brainer if you haven't signed up there and it's available to you, Josh.
Do it and do it immediately. I'm cranking out the content. If you're tailing me for it, you're in luck. You could have gone 0-5 yesterday. Oh, missed them all. Just full on bagel on Prize Picks for me yesterday. Put that one out into the ether.
You could have, but now we turn it around because
look, if I'm picking 60%, you're going to get an 0-5 day 1 out of every 100 times. So I'm just going to say that that's good. We got it out of the way. The next 99, we're in great shape.
Exactly. Plus, all you're doing is building lineups with props. There's no juice. It's just the over-under. Mix as many sports as you want. But the nice thing is you don't have to go 5 for 5, dude. Like, you can do the five prop pick 'em lineup. You can hit 4 of 5 and still 2x. You're still making money back on 3x. So, like, you're giving yourself a shot to 10x to 25x on the six pick one, but you still can double your money. You still can make money back, even if you only hit 3 of 5. Yeah. So it's not like an all or nothing approach with a traditional book where they go, okay, thank you for your time. We'll see you back here for the next one when you go 5 of 6.
Right. It's the ability to get a little bit back if it doesn't go perfectly is fantastic. Today is a great day for you to get into Prize Picks. Today's Taco Tuesday, so I assume we're going to have a couple good props. Taco Tuesday for Prize Picks. They'll give you a prop that's discounted a little bit. So, like, I'm just making this one up. I don't know what it's going to end up being, but, like, Giannis's points, rebounds, and assists is at 51.5. Maybe you get it at like 47.5 for today. So it makes it pretty, like, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room for whichever direction. They're usually trying to steer you in the direction of taking an easier over. So you'll get one for today. It'll be available for a couple hours. Then they'll give you another taco later in the day. So you can pick up a couple of these props that are like automatically 5 to 10% better than they would have been. You just want to jam those in. But every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday at Prize Picks, and that would be today.
Yeah, it's sweet. And you can use our tools too when you get the free month to see if these are actually good, like with the Taco Tuesday, see if they're actually good. I mean, I know they're going to be better than they were originally, but you can see how good they are just by comparing them with our player prop tools and all that stuff. So check, hey, listen, worst case scenario is you don't like any of this stuff. And then you're down like $10 that you deposited, or, I mean, obviously the smart move is to put 100 in and just get the whole $100 deposit bonus, because it's a one-time deal. But worst case scenario is you don't like the tools. I think you will. I think you're going to win money with them. And that's why we want you to check them out. And that's why we do it. Like, check our tools out. We hope you stick around. But if you don't, you wash your hands clean of it. There's essentially nothing that you risk here outside of getting free tools for a month and being able to use all of them and apply them over at Prize Picks and win some money.
And they've been hitting my email up with offers and stuff since I've gotten in. I put the 100 in to start. I got the 100 back. I think like a week later, I got another, like, if you want to reload for 100, we'll give you another 100. I hit that one again. They're constantly giving like basically like rake back on a $15 or $20 pick. If it doesn't win, they'll at least make you a whole for it. You take advantage of all of those things, and you're slowly but surely bringing your hold down. That makes you more profitable across the board. So like they're hitting you the Taco Tuesdays, the free plays, whatever you can hit for them. You want to take advantage of every offer that you can, because they're all in your favor if you're already there.
Dude, the free square that they gave on the Super Bowl for is massive when you're building like a 5-pick lineup. So
yeah, having to only go 4 for 4 to hit a 10x is huge. It's incredible.
Huge. Yeah. Well, and not only that, like now you only have to hit 3 to 2x to double up.
Or take the run at 6, and now your 5 of 5 is 25x.
That's true. That's a good point. Anyway, check it out. Links in the description. Jordan, you throw it in the chat as well. All right. Yeah, it's in the description and chat. Get your free month when you sign up. You got to use that link though, because otherwise we can't find you and we can't take your word for it. All right. Sacramento at Phoenix. You got the Sacramento Kings going up against the Phoenix Suns, who are, all these guys that have been out are out through the All-Star break. Durant, Payne, Landry Shamet. Malik Monk's out for Sacramento. We can dig into this one a little bit here. Terrence Davis, he's getting a little bit of love. Domantas Sabonis, of course, only center eligible here. So that always makes things weird when you're talking about a deep center position. How deep do you think center is today, given how short the slate is?
Much like every other day, it's just you're inundated with potential center options that we're never short on them. I mean, I'm just going to read off guys that I think are more. I mean, here's guys with more than 10% ownership today that have center eligibility. Giannis, Sabonis, Ayton, Robert Williams, Wendell Carter, Jakob Poeltl, Al Horford, Drew Eubanks, Kevon Looney, Kuminga, Mo Wagner, Trendon Watford. Here are some of the names that I didn't give you. Ivica Zubac, who I think should. Daniel Gafford, who is unowned today, which makes no sense to me. Precious Achiuwa, still viable for today. Brook Lopez, 2% owned. I didn't mention Kristaps Porzingis. I didn't mention Pascal Siakam. It's like 30 dudes.
I know, every time, dude. It's such a deep position. We can talk about Terrence Davis, though. He played almost 32 minutes last game off the bench with Monk sidelined. And by the way, guy, no shortage of opportunities either. Got 17 shots up, attempted 7 threes in 32 minutes, had himself a really solid game. Of course, the peripherals are going to be, sporadic with a guy like this. And I'm assuming so is the usage if he's out there for that much time playing alongside the starters in a decent amount of it. But do you think, like, what's a reasonable minutes projection for him today with Monk already ruled out?
I gave him 24. So he played 32. That was an overtime game, and he played the entire overtime. Right. So it was 27 in regulation.
Right.
But what was interesting about that game is Keegan Murray played 28 minutes in the first 3 quarters. When he finished his third quarter rotation, he never saw the floor again. Did not play the rest of the third quarter, did not play the fourth quarter, did not see the floor in overtime either. Sabonis fouled out at that point. Trey Lyles ended up getting out there for a little bit more time. So it was kind of a weird situation that I don't think is going to be repeated all the time. I think the more likely scenario is that you're still getting another 6 to 8 minutes from Keegan Murray. So I think 24 for Terrence Davis kind of fits the bill a little bit more. There's certainly upside for him. 4,500 shooting guard, small forward. You're getting great positionality. It's a really nice MPE. He's a fantasy point per minute guy when he's out there. So I like the upside. I think 18% ownership is maybe like a hair too high, but I don't really have much of an issue with it because the minutes can be there. I just think people are going to look at 32 and overreact to it just a little bit. I think the more likely scenario is that we expect Keegan Murray to close basketball games.
Right. And it's reasonable to assume too, that like if Davis shoots well again and has a good game that he, gets additional run.
Yeah.
But you can't project him for 27, 28 minutes again. That's tough.
And you've got Kevin Huerter there, same position, 5,300. He's the guy that I assume is getting those 30 plus minutes. I think it's kind of crazy that Terrence Davis is pulling more ownership than Kevin Huerter, but the price difference and the per minute rates are enough to equalize it a bit. But I kind of like Kevin Huerter a little bit more than I like Terrence Davis, just given the current ownership on this team. Guy I like the most, though, is Sabonis at 9,600. I think the 18% ownership looks good. It's finally back under that 10K price tag. He's the same guy every single time that he plays, whether people are in or out. You just kind of know he's going to be around 1.25 fantasy points per minute. I actually took a De'Aaron Fox under on Prize Picks, so I'm not fond of him for today. 15% owned. He came up in my crunch 0% of the time.
Been using the auto sleep app that you recommended to me.
Yeah. How's that going?
Not bad.
It's just fun to know. Like, I tend to feel like when I wake up and I look at it, it does a really good job of evaluating how I felt from my sleep.
I feel like it makes me nervous sometimes, though, because now I'm like, oh, great. Now I feel like there might be a psychological impact there. Yeah. Right. Where if it tells you like you didn't get a good night's sleep and your sleep rating sucks, that now you're putting yourself in that headspace that you're not going to feel as good.
Sure. Well, I look at it. I try to go back further, and I think like, well, what did I do at night that caused me to not sleep well? Did I get good sleep? Did I go to sleep too late? Right. Did I eat too close to it? Did I have caffeine too late? So it's making me reevaluate my choices that I had made on the previous day.
That's what I'm trying to do as well. Just trying to optimize body and mind. You know what I mean, brother?
I need it. I mean, we're getting old, man.
The past couple of years, I'm like, I gotta optimize. I'm serious.
We don't have a choice now.
No, we don't. Back, man, 25. When I was 25, I didn't care about any of this stuff. I wake up feeling great.
Wake up in the front yard. Don't give a shit.
And go to work.
Yeah. Yes.
Go to work at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Nah. These days, times have changed. So I like that. Yeah, I'm doing a little of that to try and stay right. You get some younger people that are watching this. They're like, oh, man, I'm not. Hit me up when you're a little older. You'll see. Times change. We got some older people, too, I'm sure.
Sure.
With the technology available to us right now, you have no excuse not to, like, really fine-tune the process. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm a year away from getting on TRT, man. It's going to be great.
Dude, you're not going. How old are you?
I just turned 38.
You gonna go on TRT at like 39?
That's the plan.
Really?
I mean, I don't think that I'm going to go and find out that I don't need it.
Okay. That's going to be a good day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Why not? Why not? I mean, I don't even think that I've ever had testosterone to begin with. So this is going to be a brand new world for you. I hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah, man. All right. Yeah, you got to start lifting heavy then if that's Just start going hard.
I mean, I can't wait.
You know how sick it would be if like the most jacked you ever were was in your 40s?
I'm already bigger than I've ever been before.
That's what I'm saying. Like
without it.
You get in
I never worked out in my entire life up until 2 years ago.
That's why. Yeah. All right. Phoenix. Josh Okogie. Okay. Let's start here. So 20% ownership going to him right now. Of course, this is our initial run of projections. Things certainly changed throughout the day. He's played 32 and 35 minutes over the last two games. This team surely made a bunch of moves at the deadline. So, there were a lot of things in flux here, but they brought in Kevin Durant, who is still out. How much time can we project for Josh Okogie today?
So it's a little tricky, but I think the best we could do is this. I'm assuming that he starts again. He started on Friday. And if he's starting, I'm giving him 30 minutes. Like, that's just what I'm going to do for a starter. At which point, I think 20% ownership is way too low. He's in 55% of my lineups right now, and I'm happy about it. This is a 0.95 fantasy point per minute guy. Does take a usage hit when he's out there with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. As you would expect, Josh Okogie should not be the guy shooting when those guys are on the floor. But even if you bring him down to that like 16.5% usage range, still a really interesting play. Active defensively, which helps out a lot. So I actually think he's one of the better plays for today. 20% ownership, not nearly enough. I actually don't mind getting to Chris Paul or DeAndre Ayton either. In particular, Ayton at 8,100. I know that feels high, but matchups against Sacramento are always fantastic. The complicating factor for Okogie is maybe they go to TJ Warren. I don't know. They could. He's here. I assume he's playing today. I don't know what they're going to do with TJ Warren, Damian Lee, Ish Wainwright. Like there's a lot of minutes that can get moved around. I don't think any of those guys are interesting if they're coming off the bench, but whoever starts in that spot, whether it's Okogie, whether it's TJ Warren, I don't think it's going to be anybody else. Whoever starts in that spot is going to look like an interesting play today.
Sports was shitting on us, saying, however did our ancestors get by? Who needs a sleep app? Do you have the colon app to track? No. I'm sure I will get that when I'm a little bit older, just to make sure I'm in good health. No, I don't though.
Yeah. No.
But hey, listen, they got by, but there also wasn't as much poison in the foods and just the way we live. And
yeah, we weren't just constantly eating plastic.
Yeah. And constantly on devices. That's an issue.
Yeah.
You worry about bad. It all comes down to, I know that I'm a culprit. It's all about the devices, man. So, but I don't think you need it. I've gotten by so far, so good, but yeah, it's not a bad.
Yeah, but to be fair, back in the day, you were also afraid that like a wildebeest was going to attack you in your sleep. So you know, there's always something.
Right. Plus, those people were just tougher. That's the way it is. They were. We're soft.
They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, we've become soft. It's true.
Well, we've become softer because we've succeeded more.
Of course.
It's impossible to maintain that hardness when we like sort of won the game of life.
Yeah. What did I say? Tough times make strong people. Strong people make good times. Good times make weak people. Weak people make tough times.
Something
Cyclical.
like that. Yeah.
Cyclical. That's not verbatim, but you know what I'm saying. It's cyclical.
Sure.
It's true.
It is.
I 100% believe that, by the way. Like when life gets too easy, everyone sits. I 100% buy into that.
By the way, the goal should be to make life easy.
Yes, of course. Like, you don't want life to be hard. You just have to have the understanding that when life is easy, it's not going to be that way forever.
Correct.
That's all. What else do you want to do with Phoenix?
Nothing. Like he can't play Devin Booker at 9,400. Played 26 minutes in his return on Tuesday. Played 26 minutes in the back half of that back-to-back on Friday. They've got 2 games before the All-Star break. I'd be shocked if they just simply ramp up Devin Booker to play 34 minutes today and Thursday and then take another week off. So I think you're going to see like 28 to 30 minutes out of Booker. Just get your sea legs and then get back and get ready for the second half. So I find Booker to be off the table. If you want to get to Torrey Craig at 4,900, I think it's fine. Reasonable value play under 10%. It's not a lot here that I want to go crazy for other than Josh Okogie, and that's assuming he's starting.
Golden State Warriors on the road against the LA Clippers. Disappointing performance from Jordan Poole yesterday. I know that was one that let a lot of people down, but here we go, back at it again. Second of a back-to-back. Initial thoughts, no Klay Thompson today?
I don't know. Kerr said it's possible he could play like a total asshole. So
I know. And he played like 35 minutes yesterday, wasn't it? I think
35.9. So basically 36.
36. Yeah.
Yeah. I left him out for right now. I don't think there's any way to be able to project Klay Thompson to play today.
We have him out as well. We also have Dante DiVincenzo with a 33% optimal score in our boom bust tool. That is despite getting 31% ownership right now. We still have him with a positive leverage score. So DiVincenzo looking real nice in the tools right now against the Clippers on the second leg of a back-to-back.
Yeah, he's a great play today. I assume he's starting in place of Klay. I gave him 31 minutes. I might be a little light there. You get the guard forward eligibility at 5,100. 30-something percent optimal feels a little high for DiVincenzo. He's not that kind of guy. He's a 0.85 guy, kind of just no matter what's going on. But very clearly the perfect like balance build mid-tier play, particularly at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like as we get more lower tier value, that kind of ownership can go down a little bit. But if he's starting for Klay Thompson, he's not priced. He's priced to be the backup and not the starter. So very easy to want to get there. I'm coming in a little lighter than that 31% mark that we have right now, but I'm still getting to a bunch of Dante DiVincenzo.
How much do you want to get to everyone else today? Jordan Poole's price points come up, but still, I know he's expensive. I know this isn't the optimal matchup, but like if you take Klay off the court, you already have Curry off the court. What type of usage are we looking at for Poole today?
35%, something along
Right?
those lines. That's where he's at with no
Right.
Steph, no Clay. So I got him in for 35% usage, 23% assist rate, close to 1.2 fantasy points per minute. 8,300 is, we're getting close to that price. Like we tried telling people a week ago when this started that like 6K pool, you lock them into your lineups and you'll still get dummies in chat thinking that that's a stupid idea. He goes up to 6,800 or 7,300. You know, you're still leaving $1,000 on the table. You got to understand when you need to take advantage of these spots when you're basically getting a $51,000 salary cap instead of a 50K salary cap when you have opportunities like this for pool. Now, we're about where we need to be. He's 10% owned. I've got 13%. I think we're about where we want Jordan Poole's salary to be, maybe an extra $100 or $200. I think Wiggins is interesting. 6,700, certainly sees a usage bump with no Clay, no Steph. Played 39 minutes last night as well. I gave him 33 for today. I think there's some flexibility there. A little surprised to see 16% ownership coming into Kevon Looney, 4,100. He did see a couple extra minutes. So in a way, I understand where that ownership is coming from, but we're going to have so many different center options that sort of just like avoiding anybody that pulls a lot of ownership won't be all that difficult. Kuminga, 3,800 power forward center. He could get a nice minutes bump. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, but they kind of need more guard minute. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more Moses Moody than Kuminga getting a massive bump. So him being 20% owned is a little high to me. He's someone that did not come into my crunch that I ran earlier, but I get the appeal right now at a sub 4K price tag.
So on the other side of this one, I just opened up the lineup generator to see what we were getting here.
Okay.
And I'm running all lineups, right? Didn't go chalky or contrarian, just all lineups to see what we're coming up with.
Sure.
This one has got the first one that popped up: De'Aaron Fox, Terrence Mann, Terrence Davis, Grant Williams, Jakob Poeltl, Malcolm Brogdon, Dante DiVincenzo, Damian Lillard. Now some of these are, let me see if I can find one. We had a question yesterday too about the lineup generator, and Adam answered. I'd love to hear your answer on this too, because I think a lot of people getting in on the half off the free week, they're paying $4 for, or half off the week. Sorry. Paying $4 for everything, which by the way, even if you're playing like $2 a day is still well worth it.
Sure.
Especially if you don't have a ton of time throughout the day. We have people asking the question like, okay, what is the balance, Josh, in a tournament? Let's say a larger field tournament, or you can speak on single entry, small field. You could talk about a large field. What is the balance I'm looking for with the lineup generator when it comes to projection, right? Like getting close to the optimal. And then when it comes to chalky versus contrarian, because I think some people go into this and they're not sure like where they should be kind of sitting there when generating these lineups to try and find the best fit for what they're trying to do.
Yeah. So each sport is going to be different too. For basketball, you really don't want to give away too much projection. For football, you can take a much lower projection and it's going to be a very different mechanism. For the NBA, I don't want to fall too far down that projection line. Like I probably wouldn't want to go any further than the midpoint for projection. For ownership, you don't have to be all that contrarian either. I do think that people probably go a bit too far off the beaten path in the NBA. You can get away with, 5 of your 8 lineup spots being pretty aggressively ranked in ownership. So in general, I'm looking to stay in the top 50% of projection, and then I'm looking to be from chalky to the midpoint on basically any slate. Now, size of contest is going to matter here. The smaller the amount of entries, the closer you want to be to chalky for sure, and the closer you want to be to the top end of projection for sure. As you get into bigger contests, something like yesterday's main DraftKings contest that had 120,000 entries in it, that's where you need to start letting yourself back in to being more contrarian. But for the most part, for all of the contests that generally exist on a day-to-day basis, I don't think that you need to soak up as much contrarian in the NBA as you would in, say, the NFL.
Yeah,
that's
it's a
where
great
I'm at
explanation. And also on these shorter slates, a lot of these lineups are just going to show up with the chalkier part of, like with a short slate, you're going to see a lot of these showing up chalkier. than sometimes with the bigger slates, just because there's a lot more spread around. Like there's such condensed ownership with a lot of this. So I guess you could make the argument that even for large fields, Josh, like you're not trying to give up too much projection, but you still like to getting maybe in the one today, 100K up top to DraftKings. What type of, and just because if people are using this, I don't want them to go into this blind and be like, oh, well, I didn't profit. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I got the half off trial. Link in the description and in chat, by the way. We just had Brajal, that guy, win like 70K, 50, and then 10, and then 10 again, using the lineup generator, which is awesome. Makes me happy because it's our new tool. But if you're looking through one of these, are you willing to say, all right, I'm mostly chalky, but then I have, you know, one or two guys that are pretty low owned and I still like them in tournaments?
Yeah. Like I have one here. I'm probably, if I'm going to play for the $10 on DraftKings today, I think it's like 43,000 entries. I would choose a balanced build coming out of the lineup generator. Cause I don't think you need to be contrarian on a day like today.
And you can select balanced lineups, just so you can select balanced lineups and get only balanced lineups.
Yeah. So your choices out of the gate after you pick it are going to be anything at all, chalky, balanced, or contrarian. My recommendation in that scenario is going to be balanced. And I think that's going to cover you for that contest size. Today doesn't seem, unless we start getting like 2 or 3 guys in that 50 to 60 to 70% ownership range, the duplication issue for a 5-gamer is not really going to matter. And that's why I'm willing to still take on a bunch of ownership. Like you're not going to have any problem. I just made one right now. It's as chalky as it gets based on the level. We're right next to the optimal for projection, but I still have 30% owned, 37% owned Derek White, 40% owned Malcolm Brogdon. But if you get one guy like 9% owned Pascal Siakam, you're already starting to make yourself a lineup that not a lot of people are going to have.
Absolutely. And you can lock players too. You can swap players. Like you have control over what you want to do with this, but it's giving you like, it's running a simulation and it's giving you like all top 1% lineups that came up in thousands of runs on a simulation.
Yeah. What I usually say is we generate thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of lineups. And then we just throw everything that we think sucks just directly into the garbage. So it never even comes up for you guys. We've already done
projected lineups.
We've already done the first evaluation step to cull the list to get rid of slop. So anything that you ultimately end up seeing is at a minimum something that meets our qualifications to be played.
Right. And yeah, not just like top projected lineups, but as far as optimal goes. Yeah.
Yes.
So check it out. It's like $4 a week for the first week. It's an awesome tool, man. We keep adding to it. We'd love to have you guys check it out. Links in the description and in chat. What are you doing with the Clippers on the other side of this game? Marcus Morris is getting a little bit of love. Aside from that, though, this is largely a team that's going, just vastly overlooked today, despite it being only 5 games.
I don't know who the hell to play here. I mean, they've got Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, and Bones Highland that need to make their debuts potentially. Yep. I don't even know if they're going to play. They still have other guys on the team that don't play that should play. Kawhi and Paul George, right? I don't know.
No, I would think so.
I mean, I would have thought that he could have got more than what he got from Denver, and he didn't. So
too,
I don't have a clue what they're going to be doing here. My guess would be yes, but the Clippers also want to win, and I don't know. Maybe they think his, league worst defense can be saved by the rest of the Clippers. Who knows? I have no idea what they're going to do with a Zubats Plumlee split. I don't know if they want to play those guys 48 minutes. This is a team that desperately wants to play 5 out. So I don't know what that balance looks like. I like Zubats at 5,500 if you think he still gets 28 minutes at no ownership. Kawhi and Paul George are essentially on some sort of minutes limit heading into the break. I gave Kawhi 34 minutes, Paul George 32. I find this team really difficult to want to roster. I guess you can go to Marcus Morris, but they can play Marcus Morris 26 minutes today and play Nick Batum the other 22, play Robert Covington a little bit. Like they have this ability. They're so deep with guys that play 2 to 4 positions that it's really hard to nail down anything here. I find it very difficult to want to get to the Clippers. Okay. I think someone can be good from the Clippers. I think it's wildly unpredictable.
Do you feel similarly with Washington if Kyle Kuzma plays? Like he went through shoot around yesterday. He was ruled out in the afternoon. He's missed a handful of games now, but he did go through shoot around. So I know it's a back-to-back, but I don't think it's it's all that unlikely that he's active again tonight. And then you've got all of these other guys whose salaries have been priced for Kuzma to be out. Like if Kuzma plays, then you're talking about a bunch of guys who are priced with Kyle Kuzma out, and that creates a dilemma.
I didn't get a single share of anyone from the Wizards except for $5,500 Daniel Gafford. I gave him 28 minutes. He's unowned. I got 7% of Gafford. If Kuzma is in, I don't want Kuzma at 8,200. To me, that's too expensive. I don't really want Kristaps Porzingis at 9,900. That's a pretty healthy price tag to pay off. I'd rather just play Sabonis at that point. Bradley Beal at 8K is fine, but we got 34 and a half minutes out of him yesterday. I think the more likely scenario is like 32 for Beal. Washington's probably the least interesting team that you can get to. Like, even if Kuzma's out, I don't think that anybody ends up looking good for Washington. They can just look better. This team looks rough. Gafford's the only guy that I want, because if he's playing 26 to 28 minutes at a fantasy point per minute, he's the one guy that could like just stack up points. You're also playing him against 25 other centers.
Should we move on then to Portland and wrap this one up?
Yeah, I see no reason not to. They're pretty difficult to talk about too, but we're going to jam them one way or the other.
Dude, Lillard has 8 40-point games over his last 16. Half of his last 16 games are 40-point games. I swear, I'm not saying he's the most streaky player in the world, but when he goes on a roll like this, on a run like this, we've seen it how many times where you're like, oh man, you can't play Dame right now. You can't play Dame. And then you don't want to play him at that price. He keeps dropping monster games. And then you just keep assuming that he's going to come back down to earth, and he continues not coming back down to earth. Like yesterday, the peripherals weren't out of control. So it kind of,
I had his under.
What's that?
I had his PRA under yesterday, and he just barely beat it.
What was his PRA?
49, I think, 49 and a half or something.
Yeah, he went 51, but 40 actual points.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the production from him recently has been out of control. It is a second of a back-to-back, sure, but I get why he's popular. The usage is through the roof. I may have mentioned this to you or Adam. I don't remember who it was, but I just have a real affinity for guys that not just shoot a ton, not just jack up a ton of threes, but especially at a guard position like this, frequently get to the line. I mean, he's averaging 9.2 free throw attempts per game. If you're wondering how much of an improvement that is from Damian Lillard, last year, 6 per game, 7 per game the year before. When you're getting to the line double-digit times every game, still getting up like 10, 11, 12, 13 three-point attempts, the floor becomes very high and the ceiling becomes massive.
11,100 for Dame, 1.45 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. And I think his ownership is completely reasonable. I would have never expected to say that. I got 29% right now. We got him at 38% ownership. Like, I'm happy to get there. The lack of other pay up options are making it interesting, because he just does project better than everybody else on the slate, except for Giannis, obviously. Like, he's never going to run down Giannis, but he's close. But the other guys that are going to be close to him are in the mid 40s, whether that's Siakam or Sabonis. You can't really trust Kawhi or Paul George at this point. So I'm totally fine getting to Lillard. I talk about Anthony Simons all the time. I'm totally fine getting there. From a raw points perspective, like, that's a guy that can shoot 15 threes and make 9 of them today, at which point you're going to want to have him. Jeremy Grant can play today. We don't have him in right now. He's 6,900. He's 6K flat on FanDuel. He's in concussion protocol. If he wakes up today and feels good and takes his concussion test and passes, like, he's just going to play his normal amount. And I think we're going to know that relatively early. I don't think they do concussion clearings by like 7:30. He's either going to be in earlier in the day or he's not. So I actually have just as much Jeremy Grant as I have Damian Lillard at this point. We'll see if he ends up being in or not. At that point, we might unlock Matisse Thybulle, who played 26 minutes, made a couple threes yesterday for Portland. He's the flat min shooting guard small forward. If you want to take shots on Cam Reddish and his starting lineup role, that's going to go away shortly. So probably don't do that. Play Eubanks, $4,400 center. Play Trendon Watford, $3,500 center. Both guys getting about 15% ownership. Both guys basically deserve that. I think Watford's a little too high there, but that's, there's value to be found. Portland looks fantastic today.
They look so good. They might be, are they the best overall team collectively outside of Boston?
Seems like it. Let me look at one thing. I could tell you in a second. So
Golden State looks pretty good, but
from an ownership perspective, Boston and Portland are the most owned teams. They're the only teams that have 100% aggregate ownership or more. And that's with Jeremy Grant pulling 0. So they would be really close if Jeremy Grant were just projected to be a questionable tag, like the same way. Like Kyle Kuzma is questionable. He's 10% owned. Jeremy Grant is just not a part of our ownership projections right now. He would be a better play than Kyle Kuzma, in my opinion. So it's Boston and Portland, yeah. And then for me, Boston's the team I'm getting to the most just because they are the most broken. But Portland is up there. And so is Phoenix, but that's just because I'm jamming a Koji.
Love it. All right. Hey, we had a couple questions on the lineup generator. Yeah, the lineup generator. So if you're getting like Stokastic plus Platinum, everything's included in that, including the lineup generator. Though, if you were, for the questions, you were trying to get the first week half off, just use the link down there because that's just half off the NBA lineup generator. That's what it is. Everything for the lineup generator, though, half off for the week. And no, we don't have Showdown yet, JT Shop, but that's coming. Like that's the next iteration of this. But yeah, everything for Maine is on there for the lineup generator. I think it's like $442 a week or something. It comes out to something like that because normally it's like $895. But yeah, if you guys have any questions too, tweet us or feel free to email support@stokastic.com. More than happy to help you guys out with any questions, whether you're already a sub or you're not a sub and you're looking to be. But hey, follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. And we'll catch you back here tomorrow on the NBA Strategy Show. Also tonight, super important, especially with Boston news and other stuff. Live before lock, deeper dive, starting at 5:30 Eastern, running all the way up and through lock at 7:30. So hopefully we'll see you there. Peace.